And welcome back to Fresh Outlook. I'm TWB. Well, there's an offshoot of the Occupy Wall Street movement. It's called the Rolling Jubilee, and it offers a new kind of bailout. Take a look.
It's time to take back our country, and we are the 99%.
An offshoot of Occupy Wall Street, Rolling Jubilee has launched a campaign aimed at erasing debt. It has been billed a bailout for the 99%. The project aims to help out ordinary Americans by purchasing, at random, other people's debt for pennies on the dollar. But, unlike bill collectors, Rolling Jubilee forgives the debt so the borrowers don't have to pay it back.
What makes me excited now is that people have finally realized that there's more of us than them, and that the only way that we're going to stop the greed and the hubris is by rising up.
To get started, the movement began with a goal of raising $50,000. That was enough, the group said, to purchase more than $1 million in distressed consumer debt. Now, is this a bold new step forward in charitable spending? Or is this only prolonging a broken credit system? Meanwhile, scores of bogus websites claiming to help the victims of Hurricane Sandy are raising the alarm for more caution in online giving.
And if you look at the website, I checked it last night, a little over $300,000 they've raised so far, this consumer movement, to cover the debt. Is this a good idea? Is this legitimate, or is this kind of nonsense?
It's absolutely legitimate and legal, and I think it's a fantastic idea. The problem is that are people going to get so keen to it that they're going to start recognizing the fact that they're allowing this debt to be dissolved? The only reason why anybody would sell you anybody's debt is so that you could then continue to have a market for it and make more money off of then collecting the money.
How long can this last?
Well, yeah, I mean, down in Africa, they were trying to rescue slave children, and they were paying for their freedom, and then they were keen to it, and so they stopped selling them. That, and they upped the price. Right. They kept on raising the price for how much it would cost, and so that has the potential for that happening here. But
I don't think it's going to do much for personal integrity and people living within their means. If actually people think that there's now a loophole for racking up all sorts of personal credit and then finding a way out of that particular.
The key here is random. Right, the key is random. That the debt is basically pooled into a sort of a mega asset, right, and then it is sold on the market. So there's uncertainty as to whether my debt that I'm holding via my credit card is going to get picked up.
It sounds like better odds than Lotto.
So,
well, they changed the bankruptcy laws. They already changed the bankruptcy laws. So when you file, you can't file for the same kind of bankruptcy that you used to, Chapter 11, Chapter 13. You're required to pay back, money or suffer more penalties for a longer period of time than you had previously. So they changed that under the Bush administration to begin with. This isn't so much, I don't think, a license to go out and spend money on stuff you don't need. It's a way of being able to start over in much the same way that some countries, including Spain right now, have asked their banks to stop foreclosures so that people would not continue to feel so threatened that they might, for example, commit suicide, which was sort of starting to happen. This is one of those, we're going to try to give you a fresh start, a fresh outlook, if you will.
You're not
as
alone.
Opposed to, exactly. But it is random, and you can't just bank on it.
And as you mentioned, I mean, thus far they've raised about $300,000, which translates into being able to sort of buy off about $6.2 million of debt. So it's these kind of pricing issues, I think, won't emerge until this got to get much bigger in scale.
Is this a basic model for us to attack debt long term?
I think it's one tool, and I think it's one tool. And the reason why I say it is I serve on United Way Worldwide's U.S. board, and also United Way of Northern New Jersey's board here in the state, and our mission has been to focus on improving income stability, or making families more income stable. And so there's two major components to that, to our work. One is education. Financial education. How do you prevent this from happening in the future? We need to make sure people understand have basic understandings of opportunity cost and other economic issues. The other piece is, well, in people who are in debt, we have a variety of programs. Our Family Success Program in the Northern New Jersey office, one of our Northern New Jersey offices, where there is credit counseling, that working with families.
You don't give them a fish, you teach them how to fish. And the bottom line is once people can get back on their feet, it makes a huge difference in terms of going forward. We just did a story this week on Every TV about debt collectors and a woman who was being harassed by a debt collector that ended up then having her son who died. She was still obliging to pay that debt, and they were harassing her to such an extent that it was very troublesome for her.
Well, you read my mind. I wanted to throw to a quick piece, you guys, on how debt is affecting the common man and woman. Take a look.
My son took the education to the grave with him.
61-year-old Michigan resident Ella Edwards is exhausted from paying her deceased son's loans.
My son borrowed $10,000, and I co-signed with him, you know, and nobody explained to us.
Jermaine's dream was to become a musician. Being inspired by rap artist Dr. Dre, he enrolled at Orlando's Full Sail University to study music production.
Oh yeah, I said, Mama, when I get my music going, I'm just going to pay this loan off.
Jermaine was repaying his loans on time after graduation. In 2009, he suddenly died from natural causes. He leaves behind a son and thousands of dollars in loans. Ella started a petition on change.org. She says the debt collectors are ruthless. They refuse to forgive his loans.
Please forgive me for crying, but I have to work to pay for this loan. If I'm one day late, they call me. They harass me about that money.
She advises parents and students to be well informed.
I want them to know before they sign a loan, make sure that they sit down and have everything explained to them. You know, make sure they know what they're signing.
I mean, a story like this, obviously, it echoes the sentiment of what so many are going through.
This is what your group does, actually, in terms of being able to counsel and educate people before they get involved with things that can cause them great hardships. My heart goes out to that situation, to that lady. But the debt system is so fully ingrained in our way of coming into our lives on the highest levels of politics and on the personal level as well. We're expected to go into debt. Everyone, you know, you borrow money to buy that car. As Pablo Picasso once said, the ideal way to live is to be wealthy, but to live like a poor person.
That's the secret.
Well, I mean,
now
I
you
think,
tell me.
Well, you know, most of the happiest people in the world are actually people that have no money. I mean, if you go to any third world nation, you'll see just how happy people are.
Because they've never had money. They don't know what, they don't know, their definition of happiness is so skewed because they don't know life any other way.
Well, their values are more about community and about togetherness. And I'm not trying to say, you know, kumbaya. It's just, no, I'm not trying to generalize.
But I'm just saying that it's anecdotal, and I think that we have the good, the bad, and the ugly in all strata of society, in all cultures.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to sort of step off away from that.
We're going to go to policy.
No, I'm not. But I do a bit of work on financial literacy and economic literacy with K through 12 schools, and then also my college and university. And what I found is actually some of the kids who need the most work in terms of understanding financial security and understanding opportunity cost and constraints aren't, you know, and it's kind of touching a little bit on your point, aren't necessarily the kids from the highest income community, the wealthy communities. I'm sorry, they are the ones. I'm sorry, they are the ones.
Right. They're the ones that need the most education.
Because they don't understand the notion of what a constraint
What's at
is.
stake,
Yeah.
exactly.
They've never experienced it, of course not.
I wake up in the morning, I got 4 different kinds of cereal I can choose from.
Right.
Of course.
Right? Or I lose my iPod and I'm expected to get another one.
Right, their threshold to failure or to, you know, their breaking point, it isn't as low. I mean, when you look at things, just Donald Trump.
Because their entitlement is so high.
Donald Trump, for example, he famously filed for bankruptcy, you know, within historically, even in his family, his father prior. and he still has all of his money and all. The rules are set up differently for individuals and private citizens than they are for large corporations and for entities. The way that the whole structure is in the United States in terms of being able to, if you have money, invest in offshore accounts, put your money in Swiss bank accounts in the Cayman Islands. Your average person doesn't know those kinds of things and how to conserve their money and
the average
and
wealthy
protect it.
person doesn't know that either. That's a very, very slim segment of society that takes advantage of those kinds of loopholes.
Well, percentage-wise, perhaps, but within that very 1 to 5% of people are billions and billions of dollars, and I think that's what people talk about. We have less of a pool to come into the general revenue pot here within the United States to even give to entitlements, because a lot of those companies and individuals don't even have their money circulating in the United States to begin with. They keep it offshore so that they don't have to be taxed.
Guys, I want to
Yes, they
segue
do.
now to Hurricane Sandy scams. I mean, awful that we live in a society where people are trying to make money off of people's hardship, but it's
This
the
is
world we
surprising?
live in. No, and it's not surprising. It's just, I don't think you ever get used to it. I mean, we heard about after every national disaster, the IRS is warning us all about these fake websites and charities that sound like the one you think you want to contribute to. IRS is urging everyone to go onto their website to put in the charity that you'd like to contribute to make sure it's authentic.
You got to go to the FEMA website in order to
That
get
too.
something that you know is legitimate, because there's just too much stuff out there, and at least there you know that you're going to be funneled towards something that is approved. Because I mean, we all remember getting those mailings back in the day, or those emails back in the day, the phishing PHISHING scams or whatever from some Nigerian entity
I
or
still
something.
get them,
I
right?
got
Yeah,
you.
and this is just sort of that, and a continuation of that. Everybody wants to lend each other a helping hand.
But are people
in need.
still really? I mean, are people really sending cash, and are they people calling them with saying,
I
"Hey,
think
we
the
need money"? And
average-
people are saying yes. I mean,
People want to give.
does
I think
this?
they take risks at times, unnecessary risks and extreme risks to do that. Some people will do this naturally, but I think that we're always besieged by scams and con artists and so forth. I'm not surprised. But that being said,
But how do we protect ourselves?
well, let me just say this: if we're advised to give our money to, say, the Red Cross,
I have
for
a bone
example,
to
'cause
pick
that's
with-
a
but go
trusted
ahead.
group. But did you know that actually the biggest the quickest criticisms that were coming out of the last hurricane had to do with the Red Cross was giving people who needed food hot chocolate and cookies. They weren't really rising to the occasion and giving people what
Right,
they
giving them
really needed,
subsistence,
and they
right.
were the number1 most authorized,
Right.
group to
There's
donate
and a
to.
lot of
Right.
folks will
But
say
that's-
that the Red
but
Cross
that's-
has high administrative costs that they
Well, that's what I was
shouldn't
about to
have.
say. Do you know that the
and I think
CEO
one of
and
the-
president of the American Red Cross, her salary for last year was almost $700,000. The Red Cross. I mean, I find that
Well,
absurd.
I would be
absurd.
I would
absolutely
be I would be careful there, because the Red Cross, the United Way, which United Way is the largest charity here in the United States, and we've gone worldwide.
The president of the United Way receives a base salary of almost $400,000. I have a problem with that.
Well, but I think you would have, if you look under the hood in terms of the kind of he's running a company, and
but there's lots of other
and-
charities where the
and-
CEOs aren't making a fraction of that.
Well, but and then maybe to help you out in terms of seeing these issues, go to GuideStar.org, and GuideStar.org is a reputable website. They've grown over the last 10 years or so, where they provide information about various charities. So if you're concerned about overhead, what share of what share of the dollars are going to actual aid, you can go there and find it. That
And to
information.
CEO's salary
Frankly, when
as
I'm
well.
in McDonald's,
CEO salary,
which,
et cetera.
which
Yeah,
isn't
it's
often,
there.
but when I'm in McDonald's, in the Ronald McDonald House, I always wonder. My dad always said, give directly to the charity. You give into those little,
Well,
is it really going to the charity, or is it going back to the McDonald's cashier?
And that's an interesting point. And I think, because of now the internet, right, that has helped to facilitate the direct connection where you can bypass the United
like
Way.
that.
Right,
That's
right.
right.
But then that creates the other problem, which you started this conversation off with, is, well, how do I as a consumer, how do I as someone who wants to help,
Right.
figure out which is the best place? And so GuideStar is one.
Right.
The IRS talked about
Legitimate at all.
Yep.
the IRS talked about use those legitimate, the ones
What was
that
it,
you
GuideStar?
Yeah,
we got to
GuideStar.org,
end
yeah.
on that note. That's it, guys. Show's over. Thank you for being here, our guest panelists, and WJ and Francesca. Always great to see you. We are out of time. Thanks once again to our all-star panel for their fresh outlooks, Francesca, WJ, and Dr. Brill Rodgers. If you have a fresh outlook, of course, we want to hear about it. Let us know on our Facebook page, our Twitter page, @Abrew.TV. Check out our YouTube page. I'm TWB, or that's @TWBrill in the Twitterverse. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time right here on Fresh Outlook.